Over a dozen barges have rammed into a dam in Pittsburgh. That's right, a dozen barges. It's a catastrophe. One of the barges has actually sunk into the Ohio River. And of course, there are multiple theories as to what has led to this crisis, but we all know the true story. It is the beast that terrorizes the city of Pittsburgh, my arch nemesis. The horrible, the wretched, the vile, the villainous Mon Monster, wreaking havoc across the entire city of Pittsburgh. Apparently last week we took a couple weeks off. It was Christmas Eve, it was New Year's Eve. We thought maybe if the Mon Monster had any ounce of heart, that in that holiday season it would spare the fine citizens of Pittsburgh. And we thought that maybe with 2 weeks off, we would come back with a few dynamite, weird news stories. And maybe, just maybe, with a little bit of heart, the Mon Monster would spare this city. But it has not. It has attacked the people of Pittsburgh. It has attacked the citizens of this fair city. So we will try once again to tame the beast. We've got Michael Cohen here with me as well. Michael, how are you?
Good morning, Brian. I'm fucking fantastic.
Good. This is River Talk. This is the River's Edge Radio Network. This is Pittsburgh's voice for local music. The city is under attack. You and I are this city's only hope. Not only have multiple barges, and it's saying more than 24 barges, according to the Post-Gazette, have rammed into an Emsworth dam, wreaking havoc on the waterways.
Is it for the fish? Are they doing it for the fish?
The barges?
Are they trying to take out the dam for the fish?
I think they just were let loose due to terrible, terrible winter conditions.
They're not making an eco-terrorism?
Well, I think it may be an eco-terrorism based on the Mon Monster. If you remember, let's travel back in time. There was an episode where we described the origins of the Mon Monster, and it was basically the sewage coming from Alcasan meeting up with the pollution of the Monongahela, and they combined at the point, and they morphed into this monster which has been terrorizing the city of Pittsburgh ever since. And until you came along, I was the only defense, saving the entire region from total disaster. And now it's on the attack. It's sent these barges down the dam. It's causing havoc on our waterways. And you've heard the story about the flooding in the bathtub, right? The bathtub area of the parkway.
First of all, I did not know it was called that. I've never heard it called
the bathtub. Yeah, I don't know why they call it that either. Because
prior to today, why would you call it
who
that?
in the hell would take a bath in the Monongahela?
Does this happen a lot and I'm just new here?
Well, it does flood there a lot, yeah. Okay. I mean, especially along the parking garages right there, it floods there all the time. But it's flooding in the bathtub. And everyone's saying it's because of the ice. But that doesn't make any sense because it's been so fucking cold. The water's not over-flooding, right?
Yeah,
there's holes in that story.
Yeah, I've still got like 3 inches sitting on top of my car that I never cleared.
Exactly. Therefore, I believe this may be part of the assault plan, the assault attack from the Mon Monster. So we're going to get more into that. We actually have a caller who was a victim of the bathtub flooding crisis.
Brian, survivor.
A survivor, okay, well, he survived. Please. Well, we'll see. He's going to call in. If we get a call, then we know he survived. If he doesn't call in, then we know he's a goner. But he's going to be calling in. We've got some great guests in store as well. We have Sam Leonard here of Pittsburgh Local News with Sam Leonard. He's right there. You want to say hi?
Oh, my goodness. I couldn't be happier to be here. Brian Crawford, Mr. Multimedia.
I am Pittsburgh's moral compass.
Mr. Cohen, this guy was Antifa before Twitter. This is eco-terrorism 1.0.
Well, speaking
before all these millennials.
Doesn't Antifa sound like a horrible, horrible organization? Like, that sounds like an organization that Dr. Claw would come up with. It does.
He's like a founding member. Right here, okay?
Yes, I believe it.
Not one of these fly-by-night, Donald Trump's elected, I love politics, I'm angry. No, this guy was murdering capitalists in the early 90s.
And we have Alyssa Herron, who is drowning above water. We've got some people in the bathtub who are drowning below water. You're drowning above water.
I'm above. I would like to tie in the whole Pittsburgh myth thing. Like, is the Mon Monster, does it hide in the Fourth River under the point?
Well,
like, is that where it goes?
It may.
And
Nobody
why
knows.
It hasn't been cited?
So we've been covering the Mon Monster on either this program or the program I hosted before this program. So that's been for about we're going to our third year here at the River's Edge. So about like 5 years now I've been covering the Mon Monster. I've yet to find a single eyewitness who can truly describe what the creature looks like. So we really don't know
Now
what it
taking
looks like.
submissions of sketches of what the Mon Monster looks like.
There was that one sketch that I did come up with.
We'll be posting them on the page.
Yeah, if anybody has an idea, if anyone's seen the beast, there was the one time where that Gateway Clipper boat was viciously attacked by the Mon Monster, and they, of course, claim to have accidentally ran into a bridge. How do you run into a bridge? That doesn't make any sense, right? So I'm thinking there was something else at foot, some sort of other malfeasance.
The monster.
Yeah, the Mon Monster.
I've heard he looks like Big Bob, kind of, from the Freak Show. He's like that, but swimming.
Now, can you confirm that? Is there like a definite...
I'm source number 1. You need number 2 if you want to get it on the books.
Have you actually seen it, or is that just something you've heard?
Well, I've seen Big Bob, and
He looks like a monster, you're saying. Okay. Very good. So we've got lots of good stuff in store. We should be here in a few minutes. We should have somebody calling in. It's going to be in about 5 minutes. But I want to know what really happened with these barges. It's a crazy story. It's more than 24 barges. It says 27 barges barged into this dam.
Yeah, crazy. What are the prevailing theories here? I'm Pittsburgh Local News. I don't know.
You've never heard.
I've done what I can to figure it out, but I haven't heard what has caused it.
Well, follow the money. Who has the most to gain, man? That's all right.
Well, you could go that route. It could be a government conspiracy.
Rogue construction company. Who gets paid when this thing gets repaired?
Joseph B. Fehl, the bastards who lit the Liberty Bridge on fire. You think they're at the...
Well, you think that was an accident? You think that was something that happened by chance?
JFK dying was an accident. The Liberty Bridge was 100% intentional.
I think it was intentional. You think it was an accident?
I'm still back on the grammar of the barge is barge.
Yeah, the barge is barged into the dam, yeah.
The writer in me is like, wait, noun and verb? This is some Illuminati stuff going on.
That's what I'm saying.
I think we need to get a little deeper.
So according to one quote that they have here, I'm looking from the Post-Gazette article here. It says, if these barges created a severe impediment to the passage of water and ice, the water can back up into the Pittsburgh Pool and affect residents and businesses along the Ohio River. So you can see these barges going into this dam. It could really impact the lives of people who live along the river, which goes back into my theory that this wasn't an accident. How did 24 barges barge into a dam?
Right. Well, who lives along the river?
I live along the river.
Well, that's who's after you.
The Mon Monster.
Apparently.
It's my sworn enemy. That's what I'm saying. This is not by accident.
No. What did you do to the Mon Monster?
Well, I've been holding the Mon Monster back for years.
And who's funding the Mon Monster? This is the problem with dark money, people.
The state is. The state is funding the Mon Monster. Look back in previous episodes. We've gone through all of this. There's this biologist. He's named Stephen Lipko. You can look back in previous episodes. I'll try to pull up some copies to show you guys. But he's been studying the Mon Monster on a state grant for years, yet he's yielded no results. He's squandered money. He's come onto this program to try to push books that he's selling. Fake books, not like good stuff like you're writing. It's like stuff where he tries to pretend to be a scientist. Okay. We've refuted him.
Sounds very put upon, like Peter Venkman.
What are his theories?
He doesn't seem to have anything. Every time you bring him in, he claims to know what the creature looks like. He can never come up with a real description. He tried to push people into buying into his university. He created his own university to try to...
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Maybe that's
I've never seen... you say dark...
We actually have a caller right now. Can we pull up this caller?
Survivor.
Let's see. We got a caller in right now. Hello, sir. What is your name? Hello? Sir, I think he just went away. Hello, sir, are you there? I'm not hearing anything. I don't think we
While you get this guy on the line, I'm just asking, has anyone ever seen the Mon Monster in the same room as Darlene Harris?
No, they haven't.
A bit eerie, if you ask me.
That is a bit off-putting. Do you think Darlene Harris is involved with the Mon Monster in some way?
That's a good theory that you just came up with there, Brian. I would.
How do you think she would be involved?
Such a thing. Well, Michael asked a good question. Who benefits from terrorizing our city's rivers? Huh? Maybe a politician.
Why do you think she would benefit? How would she benefit in any way? I mean,
fear-mongering. There's the Mon Monster. No one can defeat the Mon Monster but me, representing the North Side. You know, this is just this
but
was
she
your
doesn't
idea.
even live along the Monongahela.
You're
She
the
lives
one who
along the
said
Ohio.
that Darlene Harris is the Mon Monster. I mean,
That was something that you insinuated, and I just kind of elaborated on the fact.
right? Yeah. Who benefits? I don't know.
Let's see, we got him again. Let's see if we can get this guy in. He's calling back.
Develop the place.
Hello, is he on? Hello, you there?
Is this the
This is
edge of the river?
this is River Talk on the River's Edge Radio Network. May I ask who's calling?
This is John Doe.
That's not a real name.
Is that's my real name.
That's not your real name. That's nobody's called John Doe.
Mark, it's okay. Just tell him your name.
That's my,
Okay, Mark. We've got Mark on line one. Mark, what's your question? What's your issue? Mark, this is live radio. Mark, come on. What's your issue? From what I'm
right.
seeing here on my notes, you were in the bathtub
you
during the flooding. Is that correct?
So I found myself stuck in the bathtub on the parkway.
So the
today.
Parkway bathtub, not the bathtub in your house. You didn't fall in, and it wasn't like you fell in and you couldn't find your way out. You were actually driving along the Parkway in the bathtub zone when it was flooded. Correct? Is that what you're trying to say?
That's exactly what I'm trying to say.
Okay. So what happened? Tell me
It
your
might not be
story.
a clear enough for you.
What's that?
Regardless, I think I have some information. I think I have some information that you might be interested in.
Okay. What is the
I
information?
know you're always talking about this. I don't know if you've been telling enough weird stories lately, but I saw something down there.
You saw something in the water?
Saw something.
Can you describe to me what you saw?
Well, it had it was, I don't know, I saw in the corner of my eyes,
Mark, I know you've been through a lot, but get to the
Get to
point.
the point, please.
Keep it snappy, buddy. We're on the fucking
What did you
radio.
say? What did you say? Did it have a long neck? Did it have a short neck? Anything?
It had kind of like it was kind of long, kind of short. It was kind of like down the river, some sort of creature.
Okay.
Right.
A creature,
And,
great. Maybe a long neck, maybe a short neck. That doesn't tell us anything.
You on
Did actually-
drugs, Mark? Some kind of stoner musician or something? Why can't you cut the shit? What is it?
I'm pretty damn sure I saw the mall monster out there.
Okay, you saw the Mon Monster. Great. Can you describe what this creature looked like for us?
Yeah, it's like this sort of thing now.
Pittsburgh
monster.
school.
No, I don't know.
Oh, Christ.
What school did you go to, Mark?
He just grew up at Verdetto's
What's
bar
cool?
on the north side.
What color was the Mon Monster? Was it blue? Was it green? Was it aquamarine?
It was it's kind of this.
Mark, I want
Okay.
to remind you now.
Yeah,
you,
sure.
you called us.
Yeah, I'm colorblind.
You're colorblind.
I would say it's probably about a kind of like a bluish, reddish, greenish. I'm not sure. Hell, I'm colorblind.
You're colorblind. Okay, so you can't tell us what color it is. You can't tell us whether it has a long or a short neck. Did it even have fins?
Oh, did it
Mark?
look like that Bob guy? Fuck's his name? Who's Bob?
There are a few, I think.
Did he
Wait,
look
there's
the one you were talking
Did
about?
it look like a
Bob.
human?
There's,
Big Bob? Did it look like Big Bob?
hold on. There's someone. There's someone knocking on the door.
Okay.
Christ.
We don't have time for this,
Did
Mark.
it look
Mark,
like some kind of an aquatic Big Bob?
you said the police, you were there and the police rescued you from the bathtub. You were one of the vehicles that was stuck. You were trapped in the flooding. Did any of the authorities see the creature that you're talking about?
Well,
Yes
told me
or
not to
no,
talk
Mark?
about
Did they yes or
I
no?
think that's them at the door.
They're standing at the door?
Yeah, I gotta go.
All right, Mark's got to go. All right, thank you, Mark, for nothing. You were a complete waste of our
It
time.
reminds me of that guy with the nuclear plant.
The nuclear
that called in.
Yeah.
The man knows how to deflect. That is for sure.
I mean, he didn't give us any information at all. It was a complete waste of my time, a waste of our time. It was a waste of the listeners' time.
Tell you, heroin in this town is out of control.
It's an epidemic.
It is an epidemic. So, very, very tragic.
The guy's a survivor, remember?
He's a survivor. I mean, did
Highly
he survive or did he, like, kind of lose something in the process?
Like we've been saying, he's been through a lot, but for Christ's sake, hit a punchline, for goodness sake. What'd you call about?
I could hear the 1,000-yard stare on that guy, you know?
Yeah, awful. So, thankfully he made it out. He gave us absolutely no insight into this situation whatsoever. Completely wasted 5 minutes.
I'm going
of
with
our
an
time.
aquatic Big Bob.
An aquatic big
Yeah, you seen that movie, Shape of Water?
Not yet.
ball. No.
Well, all right. First of all, fucking see The Shape of Water. It's fantastic. But, yeah, maybe like that guy crossed with Big Bob with like a Steeler towel or something.
So that's what you think the Mon Monster looks like?
yeah, probably.
Humanoid. Okay.
All right.
Steeler towel.
That's one man's opinion.
Like a terrible towel.
You've
for
never
a tail.
seen the Mon Monster, though.
A terrible tail.
Have you? Like,
Oh.
So, Sam, you run a podcast.
You got it.
Pittsburgh Local News with Sam Leonard. And you started this because you're interested in local news? Or?
I'll tell you why I started it. Because, like us right now, who want to know what's going on in our community,
Yes.
where do we find that information? If you're like maybe all of us in the room, not to mention the people listening, you enjoy audio content.
Yes.
I like to read as well, but I drive a
And
lot.
KQV's gone, so we no longer have that news station.
You got 90.5 WESA for a very specific
you know what?
time period in the morning.
They try to be Pittsburgh. They fail though. So like I like a lot of their content, but like for example, they were talking about the Penguin game the one day, and they said that the Penguins were playing up top the hill. No one in Pittsburgh has ever said up top the hill to refer to the Hill District ever.
They're NPR.
I've lived in Western Pennsylvania for 31 years, and I've never heard anyone until that one day
Yeah.
on Morning Edition say up top the hill.
That is NPR, though. NPR goes into every city and takes a very slow talking, I'm Diane Rehm, and that's the angle that they
And
bring
never
to it.
actually learn the vernacular of the town, but pretend to be
Some do.
super into the town.
The best names on NPR all across the country. How about shout out Larkin Page Jacobs,
Not
the
as
new
good
managing
as
editor.
Not
of
as good as the BBC though,
WSA.
who has Manuela Swalagosa.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one. Yeah,
I miss Diane Reams.
I'm Diane Rehm. What's the woman who has a city paper podcast? It's video. It's actually defunct now, I think.
Okay.
Anyway, let me tell you about my
yes.
podcast.
Let's talk about your podcast.
Pittsburgh local news. So
Yes.
I want local news audio style while I'm driving. I'm
Yes.
thinking one day. NPR, WSA's broadcast ends as far as the local news goes, and it's back to Donald Trump and all the mistakes he's made.
his Twitter
I'm
account,
not
yeah.
saying he hasn't. I'm sick of hearing about it, okay? So what I have is a Pittsburgh local news podcast. It's on demand audio news content about the news that affects you and the news that you can affect. Simple as
There
that.
we go. So it's all local, all
Yeah,
the
it's
time.
all local. We go as far as like Erie. Maybe we'll do if something really creepy happens in Philly. We might mention it. That'd be pretty far though. Central PA. We'll talk State College. Because there's a lot of good material.
Well, I really appreciate that about your show because I don't exclusively talk about local issues, but I do try to make local the focus of this show.
I feel like
So-
all your vitriol and venom is really targeted at local politics.
It is, yeah. So I will talk, especially in the news.
And local
weird-
bicyclists.
because you
know?
can affect
local
them.
drivers.
It makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
I hate. Let's not talk Donald Trump. But the point is, if you have an opinion on him, you really don't matter. I'm sorry
No,
to tell you
it's,
that. You want to talk shit on? Can I curse? Excuse me.
Yeah, you can.
You want to talk trash on Darlene Harris or Bill Peduto, even maybe Mr. Fetterman?
I almost
They
got
might hear
Darlene
that.
Harris in this studio once. We
Listen.
were gonna bring her in.
And my opinion on her is, I wouldn't reelect her, but the same bad things are going on locally as nationally. She is not the demon that people paint her out to be. She drives her car through a park, investigating a constituent issue a few months ago. All of a sudden,
I would like her to drive her car through the North Side Great Lawn and mow down a few geese in the process. See, we could turn her
lot of
into
people-
an asset for good.
or the river. She could drive her car through
I was going to
the
say,
river.
many people would like to see her drive through the bathtub. No, but really, she gets too much flack. And that's another angle we're trying to give you on
Whereas
the
I
Pittsburgh
don't
Local
think
News
that
podcast.
Bill Peduto gets enough flack.
I would agree with you, Brian.
Look what he did
I
with.
concur.
We talked a little bit ago about the disaster of Hayes Park and how he's completely lied to
Your
the
issues
public.
with him are very different than mine, though. But that's
Yeah.
Everyone has their own. I would reelect Bill Peduto, which I did. But again, he is not our savior.
I'm not a
okay?
citizen of Pittsburgh, but I don't know who I would have voted for because there really wasn't anyone good that was running.
Story of politics in the world that we live in. But times are changing. You
Are
know?
they?
They are not.
Oh, they certainly are. Maybe not in the direction I'm implying, but they're changing.
They're changing, yes.
Yeah.
Very cool. No, I do enjoy the show, and it was funny because I was listening to some of the podcasts because I found out about it because I saw it like going on social media and it kept showing up on my Facebook feed, and I listened to a couple episodes, and of course the first episode I listened to, you were talking about Mike McMullen and his horrible comments on social media, and Mike McMullen used to be a commentator on my show, and I got rid of him. He was the Republican who was talking about Trisha Cunningham and her.
The first few times I came in here, he
was on. Yeah,
Trisha Cunningham.
The first time I was brought on this show, it was basically to just troll that guy.
Yeah, it was fun. So basically,
I didn't even argue with him. You argued with him, and I trolled.
Yeah,
so Trisha Cunningham she was at a Trump campaign rally. I forget what their beef was, but he called her fat.
It was so funny because.
So I go on there. There's a beautiful picture of this woman.
Yeah, she looks great.
I mean,
but it was funny because he was on this show because he had such extreme views, and it was fun because I could kind of poke at him, and it was great to have a different opinion, and we could go back and forth on issues. And then he did that, and I'm like, oh, you got to go.
Nah, but I mean, you can't listen. Sadly, that's probably the direction that things are changing towards.
Is what his.
If you're interesting, let's talk about it. But remember, these people. We can't expect all of our politicians to be good on radio
But it was funny because you mentioned that, and I'm like,
policymakers.
So I'm listening to your show, and I'm like, I'm interested to hear what what he has to say. What comes out of this. And it was funny that was literally the first episode that I listened to, and it was involving this whole thing. I mean, we were on KDKA and everything else because I was on there saying we dumped his ass, and, it was a good time. Luckily, we had John Delano, who's a very fair reporter for KDKA, came in, and it was kind of great because they zoomed in right on my logo. You can see it, RiversEdgePGH.com.
I love that. And see, that's what's great about the local news podcast. There's a ceiling to this pot. What gets me, someone said, I'm at the Steelers game earlier today. I'm like, no, another beer? No, thank you. I'm going on River's Edge later. They're like, what's that? It's like a local recording.
Meanwhile, I was at...
what? Skip it. Lame. I'm like, no. This is the most important thing in the world to me is what's going on in our city. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I also just realized that this is why Brian brought me on to basically replace Mike Mullen. He's like, oh, there's a kid who will say something that we'll have to can him for eventually, and we'll get KDK right back in here again.
And the ratings will go back up. No.
He's going to come out in defense of Ted Kaczynski or something. We're going to need to can him. See this one coming a mile away.
You know what's been great about you brought up a story, you said Mike McMullen, I forgot who that was.
Yeah.
Because these stories, they develop over time, and that's one of the most fun parts about having a weekly news podcast is these stories develop month to month. You may recall, must have been July, just before July, sadly we heard that a police officer in, I'm going to embarrass myself. Anyway, blew his hand off on a fireworks.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
I heard about that,
I reported on this. I said, oh, tragic. He was a cop killer over. No, I'm kidding.
Nice.
Kidding. I was saying how it's sad. This guy had a side business as a fireworks. He had a fireworks company, not registered with the state.
So it was shady.
The point is, I just covered the story kind of objectively, maybe a little harsher than KDKA would. I was a little harder on this police officer than maybe the MSM.
So you wouldn't make it
would
on this
be.
program because we're super objective here.
Yeah.
There's never an opinion expressed.
Couple months later, pre-December, pre-Christmas, this guy pops up back on the news. He's got a GoFundMe. They didn't let him come back to work, he found out the day, this police officer who blew his hand off. He's the chief, by the way, not Pittsburgh. I want to say New Kensington. I'm wrong. Somewhere.
Yeah. I remember the story. I can't remember where he's from.
So he's upset. He's on the news, pumping his GoFundMe, marketing his GoFundMe, crying on the news because he just married his wife 6 months ago. He's got a newborn kid. I want to make this Christmas good for my son. He's crying on the news. I've cried many times as an adult. I said, again, something maybe you shouldn't say about a police officer who blew his hand off and is now handicapped. I said, I don't want my main law enforcement chief crying, asking for money on the news, really, okay? So I don't think much of it. Fast forward, what happens last weekend? The dude is a pervert. Gets Chris Hansen trying to hook up with a 14-year-old chick in a Sheetz parking lot. And it was just a perfect example of it. And I was like, oh, God, I'm so happy. I can't wait till I've been doing this for years now. I'm like,
Oh, yeah, it's
maybe
great.
8 months in, sick.
It's like just like last week we were covering the Mount Lebanon deer crisis, which has been going on for years. I was talking about this back in the attic closet studio in the twilight, or the early years of the River's Edge, whenever we first started as a podcast, and here it is 3 years later, we're still talking about the same issue
dealing
because
with
it's
it.
still going on.
Still
yeah.
gunning down deer
So I
for
definitely
sport.
get that. No, they're not gunning deer for sport. That's the thing. I wish they were. They here's the thing. The whole situation, they brought in death camps to try to kill the deer. That failed. They talked about castrating them. And then eventually they hired a team of archers and sharpshooters to literally parade through Mount Lebanon and start mowing down deer.
Cohen, weigh in on that, please. Hold on. Let me phrase it differently. How do you feel about a team of sharpshooters, ex-military guys, marching through your
Oh,
neighborhood?
it's Pittsburgh. It's a bunch of hicks.
How does that sit with you?
That was actually the first thing I said. Was I was like, whoever they hired for that is total scumbags. It's probably like G4S or some other security company that does like security for Giant Eagle and also in the Gaza Strip.
I love Michael so much. When we would hang out at open mics, I would always like talking to Michael because we disagree on most issues, but I sympathize with him. So I wanted to say that no, we really did need to cull the herd.
Oh, I'm
we
not
needed
against
less
killing deer.
But you're probably right. If you sign up, I want to. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm not against
Giant Eagle and the Gaza
So
Strip.
I want to know. We talked about the
G4S
police
actually
officer.
does that. That's not exaggeration. No, I'm not against killing deer. I think they're delicious, and I used to eat roadkill.
I just ate deer yesterday.
Yeah,
Great.
they're fantastic.
Roadkill?
Yeah.
Venison is
Yeah, but
fantastic.
Wait a minute. Can we just cover this for a moment? You said roadkill, not hunting, not bow hunting.
I'm not ethically opposed to those things, but
But if you see half of a deer,
no, if I see a whole deer,
okay,
it's got to be a whole deer.
Well, yeah, if it's a half deer, it's
is
already
gross. Yeah.
it's already molding and
take a whole
like that.
deer,
It has
throw it in the
worms.
bed.
Yep.
What's the next step?
Drive to your house.
Do you professionally process roadkill or?
No, you need a.
You do it yourself?
Yeah, it's super illegal because you actually need a hunting tag. So yeah, no, you want to bring it to your backyard. You want to hang it by its front legs. Well, you can hang it by either, really. Usually I do the front legs, and then you open it up starting at the anus, and you go right up the middle. I taught myself.
I wasn't kidding
From
when I said
YouTube.
this guy's eco-terrorist 1.0. He used to tell me stories. The people he hung out with had more fun and lived with more passion than any of us could ever dream of. Eating roadkill? Come on.
Norman Bates started as a taxidermist. Throw that out there.
there we go. So before we move on into the weird news,
Oh,
which
is this
you
the one
both
we're
are
fighting
welcome-
over? You're
Which I love.
goddamn right
yes,
we are.
I want to talk about. You mentioned the police officer who blew off his hand. What are your thoughts of live broadcasting police funerals?
What are you mean? Is it
Like every time a police officer dies from a drunk driver or something like that, there's they broadcast his funeral on live TV like it's some sort of spectacle.
Well-
And I was in Mullins the other day, which I love them because they open up early for alcoholics who work overnight. And I'm there and we're literally watching this guy's funeral. I never met him. I don't even go to the funerals of people who I know, let alone someone I've never met.
Speaking of the New Kensington officer, that's why I was.
Well, there's that. There was also the one in Latrobe. It happens
well,
anytime an officer dies, but everybody watches it. And this guy got really pissed at me for saying, this is creepy. We're watching the funeral of someone we've never met. I think it's weird.
Well, in theory, okay, so this is where I'll sympathize with Mike. In theory, law enforcement is one of the most important roles that we can have in a society, and these people, in theory, risk their lives to defend the most honorable things that...
Sure, but put a memorial up for him. Don't watch the funeral like you actually knew the guy.
Well, listen, I didn't tune in. I'm just saying I've got no beef with it.
Like, I could see, like, they put up that memorial outside of that Catholic church in Bloomfield. I think that's a nice thing to do. You can go and respect that the person served and that they helped their community. But you never knew the guy. You can't feel that bad. It's kind of like when Robin Williams dies and everyone changes their profile picture, but Granny croaks and not a word is spoken. You know, you don't know the police officer. Yeah, you can feel bad that he died, but really you can't pretend to be that heartbroken over someone you don't know. Like, you can be sad over the situation, but you didn't know the person.
Here's a critique.
So to go watch the funeral, and to me it becomes a spectacle, because then you're literally treating the funeral as if it was a sporting event. You're there. We were actually sitting there in the diner.
Towels out.
We were there in the diner. We're saying, oh yeah, I remember that song when I went to church, and oh, this is different than when You're literally analyzing the funeral as if it was a sporting event, giving play-by-play analysis over the dead carcass sitting in front of the pews.
Oh, let's be real. The Yinzer copy would have wanted it that way.
Maybe. I don't know. I personally don't want that.
People do, and that's why you saw it on WPXI.
But does the family want that? I imagine if one of my...
That's a good question.
One of my parents croaked, I wouldn't want it on KDKA, you know?
Yeah, no, but
we don't know.
Everyone's watching on the people who, like I said, I wouldn't necessarily tune in. Not that
I think it's weird.
Just not where I go for entertainment is not funerals, but his family knew that he was being honored, and they wanted
strictly
it's
for
nice
dating.
to know 10,000 people were saluting from their TV screens. I wonder though what if they had any say in that. They should have been asked for sure.
For sure, yeah.
Right?
I just know if you really want a fun and wild funeral like that, you want it broadcasted, the River's Edge can broadcast your funeral, and we could do so at the only family-owned funeral home in Millville, the funeral home that is known for green burials here in Millville. We're talking Hahn's Funeral Home. Hahn's Funeral Home for all of your needs.
Is this an official plug?
This is an official plug.
Very impressive.
So again, if you want something outside of the box, you want your funeral live broadcasted, Hahn's can accommodate. They've got friends.
Did you just say outside of the box?
Yeah, funeral outside of the box.
That would be
as opposed to
totally
inside?
tasteless.
As opposed to inside. Hahn's would do that for you because they are that willing to go that extra mile.
Whatever they're legally allowed to do, they will do it
for you.
You've covered this previously, forgive me, but what's a green funeral?
It's like more economically friendly. No, it's more ecologically friendly.
Yeah. I've always said throw me in the dirt, ashes, whatever it takes. But out of the box, really the box is the thing that's going to probably cause maybe not significant harm on the soil, but you don't need it there, right?
Yeah, they won't pump you all full of the chemicals that make your body last like a Twinkie,
Yeah, see, I know I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. I want that bar-style funeral where people can have that drink on me at the end. I want to turn my casket into a
just
big
don't
bar.
Just don't broadcast it on the news. Right?
Yeah, well, I mean, unless you're going to make it... I literally want my casket to be a bar. I want people to come up and be served... a drink at the bar. Yeah, make it a big party.
What would you serve?
I don't know. Probably mostly beer and wine. I'm not a big liquor person, so I would have it there for anybody who wants it because I'm a good host. But
maybe if you were to die, say your entire lower half was cut off, then you have open casket, your face.
Oh, you can put the ice.
The bottom keg. You got the tab right there.
In the other half, you can put the ice in there, so you could literally scoop the ice out of my my gut.
Well, I would pass. I would probably...
That's fantastic. I like that idea. So let's do that. I'm going to make a living will, which, from my experiences with living wills, as soon as they talk to the relatives, they'll throw it out the window and do whatever the relatives want anyways. But I will write that living will nonetheless. Let's move into the weird news. We've got 3 weird stories. As we know, the city is under assault, and we are going to do what we can today to try to save this city from total destruction. Let's cue that music. Let's cue that music.
Music.
All right, we're just going to go into the weird news. Oh, there it is. The music is here. This is River Talk on the River's Edge Radio Network. This is not one, not two, but three weird stories to keep the Mon Monster at bay, where Michael and I save this entire city of Pittsburgh, not just the city, but the entire region from total and complete destruction with not one, not two, but three weird stories, because you know every evil demonic creature can be entertained with weird news. The first weird news story comes from a car crash in California. It's not your ordinary car crash. No, this car actually got stuck on the second floor of a building. This comes from Channel 11. It's in Santa Ana, California. It says 2 people were injured Sunday morning in California when a car, apparently traveling at a high rate of speed, hit a raised median and flew into the second floor of a dental office, police said.
That's incredible.
That's actually a great place to have that happen, because they could literally pull you in and put you under. So you don't feel the pain, right? So if you're going to crash somewhere, get the anesthesia, maybe get some Novocaine, get that running through your body. I could have used that the last 3 days.
These your final moments.
Yeah.
Hits the median, second floor.
Yeah,
Wow,
that's crazy.
I've played Grand Theft Auto. Good one, right? That's my joke.
Yeah. I like it.
I didn't hear it at all 20 minutes before it came on. I mean, I'll go deeper and say Mario Kart. Definitely not letting my son play that anymore. Like, we do understand this. You can't actually throw
But,
cars
like, when you
into
hit
second floor buildings, right? We're all good
You
on
hit
that?
your shit. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa.
You know, I wish Mario Kart, like, we had that, like, especially this time of year when winter hits, and all of a sudden it's just shit everywhere. People are terrified. So you've got like 2 types of drivers during the winter time. You have the bitches and the assholes. You've got like the people who are too like fucking afraid to drive 5 miles an hour, and then they like stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, because they're too timid to actually just drive. And I feel like they cause more accidents than the assholes, who are also a problem because they're driving at such a rate that they don't take into effect that there is actual ice on the ground, and then they start swerving all over the place. But yeah, you
Which
get a
are
bunch
you,
of,
Brian?
I'm more of the asshole than the bitch, that's for sure. I cannot stand timid drivers. I think they are a plague on the roadways, and they cause so many issues.
Yeah, I don't want to derail here from your weird stories, but we were talking on Facebook. You had a great encounter with someone, and this is my philosophy in the car. I'm totally laid back, but when I make a small mistake and someone yells at me, I like to go 0 to 1 million instantly. So like I turn from the wrong lane and someone's like, "Fuck you." That's when I'm like, not that I really care, but I'm like, you want to make this a big deal. That makes me want to like pull a weapon out.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. No, I get it. I mean, I'm a super douche. So this one time I'm driving down this hill, and this like pickup truck comes behind me, and I guess I'm not going fast enough, even though I'm going over the speed limit, because I never drive the speed limit. So he comes right up on my bumper real quick, and I see him there, and I'm like, you son of a bitch. So I start slowing down. He won't get off of me, so I come to a complete stop. This guy then pulls around me, cuts off the road right in front of me, and he gets out of the car. He looks like a mountain man with this crazy long white hair holding this giant pipe ready to kill me. So then I throw the car into the reverse, I back up a little bit, pull it into drive, and I run that son of a bitch off the road.
Did you?
Yeah.
I did. He's like diving like, what? Flying.
You really did that?
Oh, I did, yeah.
Wow,
I was gonna.
that's
I would have killed him, because, you know, he's not gonna attack me with some giant pipe because he's some asshole who is tailgating me. Like, do not tailgate me. That's not cool. I will not put up with that.
I will run you off the road.
I will literally run someone off the road, and I will not be bullied by anyone on the road either at any time.
Never.
So never. No.
You're a fucking psychopath. What's the next story?
So you've got a story for us.
Yeah. So you can buy a lot of things with Bitcoin, right? Most things that you think of buying with Bitcoin, drugs.
Not in one country. There's that one country that banned it.
Many have.
Yeah.
Well, they're trying
If China
to. but
bans
how?
if China bans it, invest, right, Mike?
You think so?
Absolutely. Go ahead, finish. I'm sorry.
You can buy drugs with Bitcoin. You can buy assassinations with Bitcoin.
Oh, wow.
And as of earlier this week, if you live in Canada, you can buy KFC with Bitcoin.
Oh, really?
Yep. They have the new Bitcoin bucket. A Bitcoin bucket costs 0.0011204 Bitcoin. I don't know
how much is that. Do we know?
That would be 1,000th of a Bitcoin, which would be about $14, right?
Oh, okay. Is that reasonable for KFC? I don't know.
Yeah, 20 Canadian dollars.
Wow, that seems like a lot for KFC. They're screwing over the Bitcoin customers.
So
Bitcoin's
I
so
mean,
volatile.
it's a big looking bucket.
It's a huge bucket of KFC
It's a
that
big
he's
looking
talking
bucket.
about. So it's like, what, 20 pieces? So that's what, like a buck a wing?
Probably thereabouts, yeah.
Yeah.
The Bitcoin's so volatile, you got to catch them at the right time. Like
Yeah.
you see, I think it's probably at like 14.5 right now. Maybe if you see it go to 12, you hurry up and buy that Bitcoin bucket. Up at 19, maybe you hit Taco Bell that day.
Right.
Very, very true.
Indeed. All right, Brian, what you got? I can see this. Did you see that I had been posting about
I
this?
actually was thinking
on
about
my
talking about
Facebook?
it, and then I saw you posting it, and
Okay.
I'm like, all right. So the third weird story of the day, a woman reportedly returns a dead Christmas tree to Costco. And you're celebrating the fact on Facebook
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
this woman is screwing them over.
Not all
think-
heroes wear capes.
You're right. Costco, the hero of this story, is being victimized by this horrible, horrible woman. I'm in favor of restocking fees. They should restock the hell out of that woman for returning a dead Christmas tree. I mean, it's after Christmas. It's a living thing. Because she's got a brown thumb, that's not Costco's problem. That's hers.
I think you are misunderstanding the motivations and justifications here, Brian. I don't think the argument is, I mean, essentially, yes, that it's dead, but ultimately, it's soft stealing.
It is stealing. It's exactly stealing.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the
great.
year, Costco's going to look at the budget. They're going to say, "Oh, we took a loss, so we're not going to pay our people their raises."
So that's the interesting part. So low-level payroll is covered under expenses when they're looking at their overall budget. So you think that Costco, which pulled $2.68 billion in profits, like that's after all their expenses last year, are going to look at that and can't
They
find
look
the
at
money.
when they base your raises, they look at individual stores' loss and they factor that into the raises.
That's hilarious that people still think that. Like, for example, like I work at a restaurant, and sometimes the chefs even say, "That's my raise you're wasting there," or whatever. And I'm like, you know that there's an owner of this place that literally works here 0 hours a week that comes in and takes $2,500 a month just off the top, or more if he feels like it that month. Like the idea that these companies that make literally billions in profit. So here's the thing: you're victim blaming.
You live in a no. It's not a victim. I'm not victim blaming. How is she a victim? She bought a product. She has a brown thumb.
No,
she failed to keep the Christmas tree
We're
alive.
all fucking victims of these fucking people. That's the thing is, the wealthiest people taking $2.68 billion off the top.
Well, being a thief does not. You're not justified in being a thief because they're bad. Two wrongs don't make a right.
We don't owe them anything. There's only one wrong. That's
no, you do owe them something. If you want to buy a product, you owe them money for that product.
I disagree.
Okay, so go into Giant Eagle and just take what you want and see what happens.
Giant Eagle's too local. Costco. Is Costco a Walmart offshoot or what's the?
No, that's Sam's Club, the Walmart offshoot. Yeah. No, Costco's another big one. Costco's supposedly, actually, Costco treats their employees pretty well for retail. They're one of the highest paying retailer entities out there. You can actually make $30,000 or more as a cashier, which is like an entry level position at Costco.
That's
what's that going to get you?
But what I'm saying is, you're going to screw any retailer
Twice as much
over.
as I made last year.
Yeah,
On paper.
if you're going to
Tax
screw,
dodging, I know it.
if you're going to screw any retailer over, Costco would not be the one to screw over. The one that actually treats their employees okay.
I mean, that's always the liberal position where they're like, "Who could have been done worse?" or whatever. Like I remember in '99 during the Seattle riots, everyone was mad that they smashed up Starbucks, and then in 2010 in Asheville, when they smashed up a very fancy shopping district, and everyone's like, there was a Starbucks right on the corner, you couldn't hit them. And it's like the whole thing that liberals do is no matter what you do, they would have supported you if you'd done it ever so slightly differently. Like, everyone's a fucking critic.
I just don't believe in stealing. It's just something I don't agree with.
I just think that there are a few extremely wealthy individuals who have locked up most of the wealth on this planet, and they didn't get it through honest. Like, every capitalist enterprise starts with
But you act like when you
theft.
steal from Costco that you're going to be stealing from that guy on the top. That guy at the top is never going to take a cut.
Yeah,
he's going to take it out from everybody else that's underneath him before it ever comes to him. So yeah, returning a dead Christmas tree.
No one's going to take a cut. It's all already in the fucking budget.
No, they will use whatever excuse they can to cut raises.
But
And
so
things
you're
like that.
admitting, though, that it's an excuse, that it's not actually the
And
math.
You're providing them with that excuse.
And that's where you get into the victim blame. This is like when
There's not a victim here.
Who's
She
the victim?
stole. She's stealing from
Costco's
Costco.
the only victim.
Yeah, Costco's the only victim.
Listen, I would say
How is this woman a victim? She literally stole a Christmas tree.
the theft, the loss here will not be passed on to the employees, I don't believe. At the same time, to say that all capitalism starts with theft is so unfair. Quick, let me just a statement to the losers out there who hate Donald Trump and just got into politics 4 years ago. I love Barack. Where were you during the Seattle riots of '99 when he was throwing Molotov cocktails
not what I
through windows? Huh? Sorry.
No, I mean, I think this woman is wrong.
No, the idea that we give people excuses to act abusively towards others is
She's acting abusively to other
outrageous.
people. You know, that person's-
Who? Show me the picture of the person whose pocket this comes out of.
the people who work at that store.
That's
because I
not true.
guarantee it
That's
is true.
fundamentally
it's
Maybe
absolutely
the
true.
manager, Brian, but not the.
No, they
get
when
an
they-
hourly rate.
They get an hourly rate, but whenever they assess raises at the end of the year, they look at the loss of a store.
That's
so the more
outrageous.
theft that you have at your location, the less of a chance that you're going to get a raise at your individual store.
Okay.
So, as someone who worked in the business for 10 years, I know that that's how it works.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. You know, now
whether they're hurting that much that they can't get give the raises out or not, they will look at those numbers and use that as an excuse to not give the raises out.
As an
So,
excuse.
regardless, people are getting paid less at the bottom because this woman decided that she was too cheap to just buy her Christmas tree like every other upstanding individual.
Like
who
all
buys a
abusers,
Christmas
if
tree.
you're looking for an excuse
You know,
to do
if she's
something,
too
you'll
fucking-
find it. That's the
if she's-
thing.
If she's too fucking cheap to
They
buy
don't
the
need an
Christmas
excuse
tree,
to underpay
if
their
she's
employees.
too fucking cheap to buy a Christmas tree, then why doesn't she just go out into the woods and cut it down herself? I know, because she's too fucking lazy.
Because
to do
that's
that, just like
actually
she's too
theft.
fucking lazy.
Yes.
to get-
When you steal
Unless
from
it's
a
your farm.
business that was built from the ground up by an entrepreneur, that's honorable. But when you cut down a tree
in
that
your
is-
own yard, yeah, that's
No,
theft.
that's my exact point.
So-
Is most capitalist enterprises are predicated on theft from the public, right? An oil company is like
Back that up.
doesn't-
As quickly
Costco
as
is not
you
an oil company. They're a bulk retail organization.
anything that's based on natural resource extraction is stealing from the public and then profiting off of it. And
Not if you own the land.
well, and that's, I guess, where, that is where we come to fundamental disagreement, which is if you're up the river from me, I don't care if you own the land. The things you do on that land directly affect me. And as California and New York go to try to sue various oil companies, I think we can agree that owning the land actually doesn't necessarily protect you.
There's a difference between raising trees and regrowing those trees and dumping oil into the water.
Sometimes and often not.
Well, this woman is a criminal, and I would like to see the book thrown at her. But I'm sure Costco's policies are loose enough that she's going to get away with it. I worked at Kohl's once, and this is a true story. Kohl's has like this return policy that is just out of this world, where you can return anything. And literally, somebody came in.
Do you need a receipt?
No. And literally, somebody came into the store, and I was working guest services.
Do they give you cash or credit if you don't have a receipt?
They're not going to give you either. They're going to give you store credit.
Store credit if you don't have a receipt?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's your fault if you don't have a receipt. So
Yeah, sure.
So this person comes in and literally
blaming.
takes the nasty used shoes off of his feet and puts it on the counter, and Kohl's took it back. Because
That's so funny you say that.
amazing.
I used to do that at Walmart. I would wear the shoes in, put
Yeah.
them on the desk at customer service, no receipt. Walmart gave you cash. I would
Oh,
walk
wow.
back to the shoe section, put the pair on, and say, "I'll wear them out. Here's exact change." You know, you have exact change. She gave me, "Here's your $11.97 I got from customer service." That's what they wanted.
I'm going to tell you a
Tremendous.
shortcut. You don't need to go to the customer service thing. You can actually just go to the shoe department, put the new shoes on. The things you sit on there, they're hollow. Put your old shoes inside
Oh,
those.
bingo.
You can walk right out. You don't even stop at the returns.
Alyssa Herron is asking that you please don't steal her book, and because she's, you know, I know Michael
Yeah, let's
probably
move
would
on.
want
That's a great
to
segue.
he'd want to pirate the book.
Yes.
He'd
I
wanna-
actually downloaded the Tor file from
Yeah,
Drowning Above
exactly.
Water.
So-
Michael uploaded it to Pirate Bay.
because you know big.
I loved it. Amazing book.
Thank you.
Big corporate Alyssa Herron.
Big corporate me.
She, she can afford the cut. She can afford the loss in revenue, right?
Of course.
So,
Swinging like I am.
so let's. Why should people illegally download this book? Drowning Above Water.
It's not an illegal download, but as soon as, like within days of putting something on Amazon, there were already people out there who had purchased it and were selling it third party.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
Like within, like they would
That
buy
means you've
it.
like really made it into the big time, right?
They do it to everybody. And
they
I
do it to
just,
everybody.
because I was like, who has my book? What? Tell me about it. Did you like it? What about this kid? But that wasn't the thing. It's like some random person in Kansas just buys a single copy of every
Wow.
single new book that comes out to sell for God knows what reason. I guess it's one of those in case, the next J.K. Rowling comes out and they got it and I'm like, oh, first edition, look what I have.
Wow, that's very cool. I got an early one. See, I was hoodwinked because I came to this book signing, and I need to get you to sign my
sure.
copy. But I came to a book signing, and it was you and Josh, and you had your book signing at the bookstore, and I thought I was there for the premiere. I thought, of course they invited Brian Crawford to the premiere. Of
course we did.
So I didn't. I wasn't invited, I don't think, because I don't think I knew you guys yet.
Okay.
But I was invited to this book signing, and I thought, here I am, big shot, Pittsburgh celebrity, radio star, Pittsburgh's Moral Compass, coming in for the premiere, special invite for a select audience.
Of course.
And here I found out that it wasn't. It was like the second showing.
Well,
I was invited to the leftovers.
the second
What
showing's
the hell?
important too.
But I'm a big shot. I should have been there at the beginning. I
Well,
should have
maybe
been
you
there.
just
Tell
weren't
us about
there.
this book, though. What's
Tell us about this book.
Yeah.
What? Drowning Above
Drowning
Water.
Above Water. No Mon monsters in it to speak of. Yeah, this is a fun, lighthearted show, and this is not a fun, lighthearted book. It's a book about human trafficking. It's about a girl who is very troubled, addicted, going down a horrible path in life, and she is trafficked from Poland to America.
Wow.
We learn by her own mother. And she is a sex worker here in America, and she becomes pregnant, and she decides that she has one last chance for redemption and some spark of goodness. And so she tries to escape back across the water to Europe because she wants to give this baby to one of the only people she has ever known that she thinks has some decency in them.
How were you inspired to write this? Is it based on someone you've met?
No, because I think that's too intimate. People have asked, oh, did you do a lot of research? And I said, I really didn't. One, because research is really hard and it's a lot of work. Two, because this is such a horrible issue. I didn't want to get too close to anybody's story because those stories are their own and their choice to tell or not to tell. The original idea was from one of my favorite TV shows, The Wire. Mm-hmm. On the second season, David Simon and Ed Burns did a whole series of a trailer full of European women who end up on the docks in Baltimore.
Right.
And
that season is so good.
I know, and it's problematic as a white woman to be like, I liked season 2 because it's the white season. But it's amazing. Every season of the show is so great. And
Not the 5th so much.
well, not okay. But this container ship ends up full of dead girls, and I thought, what if one of them made it? What would that look like? What might her story be? What was her life before here? What would possess someone to go through that? What are you getting away from? What are you hoping to get to?
Wow.
And that's I said. It started out as a little tiny story, and then as a bigger story, and then as an entire book.
So it was like kind of a progression. You started out and it kind of grew?
Yeah, I was part of a writers group, actually with a couple other people that you've had on here, Joanna Lowe and The Broken Word. I was in a writers group with her and another wonderful local writer, Eric Sipple, and I just did a section of the first chapter. And I said, hey, what do you think? And I liked it, and I kept working on it. And
how does that writers group work? Do you like kind of start brainstorming on ideas of what to write?
Yeah, we would just, the particular group that I was in, we would drink a lot of wine. Which is the
good way to start.
It's the most important. And we would work on just projects individually and bring it together and would read it to each other or send it
So
to
it
each
was
other
kind of like
in advance.
Like almost like an editing, like not editing, but like a peer review type of a group to try to grow and expand.
And that's critical to have people around you that you trust that will tell you, like, wow, this is dog shit. You really shouldn't show this to anyone.
How has that happened with this book? Were there parts of the book where people were like, you should adjust?
Absolutely. I sent it to, you had mentioned Josh, and I will give him the formal plug, Joshua Tarquinio. His book is The Rogue Mountains. He is actually one of my editors, along with Mike Watt, another Pittsburgh filmmaker and writer. And he would go through the whole thing. And he would, everything from, wow, you use just in every other sentence. You know English. How about finding some better words? Or just something makes sense in your head because you've been thinking about it for days and days and days, and you write it down, and someone else says, I have no idea what you're talking about. You switched characters 4 times and verb tenses 3 times, and what are you saying? And in your mind, it makes brilliant, perfect, crystal clear sense. And on the page, it's just an unfolded lawn chair. And sometimes that's the biggest part, is having somebody sort you out.
How many times did you have to go back and edit? Because I feel like when you're writing a book and it's something that's going to be permanent, because it's not like you do a weekly show and of course you try to put some work into that, but once it's gone, you've got another one coming up.
Well, yeah, it's like it's like sort of live theater versus film. You know, like film, you really have to do the work to do it again, and another take, and to make the edits perfect. And live theater's like, hey, we're doing it, and whatever we get, or like
whatever
with your comedy, whatever happens in this set is what happens, and we'll work it out up there maybe, or we won't. We'll fall flat, and we'll try on the next show.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one was going back again and again and again and again.
Is that exhausting?
It's beyond exhausting. There's
what goes through your mind when you go through that process? Because I never really have had to go through that process, because everything I'm very much into. There are times I've had to with shorter pieces, but I've never written like a novel like this where there's so much that goes into it. Do you ever have like a feeling where you almost feel exhausted or even doubt when you see people coming through and criticizing your work? Because I feel like that would be a hard thing to deal with, even though they're doing it for your benefit, and you have to do that to get the best process and the best product out there. I feel like it would still be a hard thing to deal with, because in your mind, you've put all this work into it, and you're like, it's perfect. And then somebody else comes through, and they're like, well, you could change this.
Well, I think as any type of artist, any sort of creative, if you are not open to commentary and critique, and someone saying, hey, maybe try it this way, then you really shouldn't be in that business. You need to pack up your art supplies and go home, because yes, it's always, your vision at the end of the day. And there were times when somebody said, hey, I think you should write like that. And I would say, no, that is my sentence, and I'm not changing a syllable. And other times you step back and you say, oh, they were right. This is better. Damn it. So yeah, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful gift to have people around.
You probably know what you have, your core vision, and there are certain things, because as I know, even not only creatively, but even when you build an organization and you have an official, you have a serious focus and a laser-like vision of what it's going to be. There are certain things that cannot be changed and cannot be moved, and then there's other things where you can be much more flexible on it. Is that what you've experienced in
I
writing?
think so. Like, you have in your mind what the tone and the theme and your message or metaphor, for better or worse. And it's the same thing with anybody, whether it's a podcast or a comedy set. It's, what do I want to say? What idea am I trying to express to the people that are hearing this? And it's the same thing with a book. So when someone comes in and is saying, I think she should have an abortion, or I think she shouldn't have an abortion, it's like, well, that vastly changes what I'm trying to say. So that's a cut that you can't make, you know, whether someone picks a purple bag up off the street or takes this train instead of this subway, those are things that can be irrelevant. It doesn't matter.
So can you read us a portion of the book?
I will. I will just do a little section from the very beginning, because I think that's a good place to start.
Great.
And I understand that we're not under FCC regulations.
We're not.
So excellent.
So you can say whatever you want.
Expletive away.
Do you need the glasses?
Expletive.
We've got a pair of glasses here.
Oh, and these are not real glasses.
They
right?
are real glasses.
They are real glasses. Can I see? Oh no, I can't read with
Can't-
those.
yeah, I can't read with them
Absolutely not.
either, so.
That's not even a thing.
These are like, can anybody use these glasses? What in the hell are these glasses even doing?
Maybe they're the monsters glasses.
Maybe.
Okay, this is just a section from the first chapter of the book. Behind the door, Melina answered the door while Peter's wetness was still running down her leg. His T-shirt, the one she had grabbed and managed to put on, both backwards and inside out, barely covered the cleft between her legs. The seam stuck to her wet heat. His left dampness puddled between the tops of her thighs. A clump nested lower like a white scar. A trickle traveled slowly south to his calf. She held the door open, the width of a meat cleaver, and could smell the smoke. Not from a fire, a cigarette, and not a cheap garbage American one. It was hers. Spice that blew open your nostrils like smelling salts. A tangy incense with a sweet honey trying to temper it all. She never saw Grisella first. She smelled her, felt her, sensed her. The darts of smoke on her sibilant exhalations reached Melina's door before the woman did. You have someone waiting, Grisella said just beyond the door. Melina didn't look at her. Get your fag boyfriend out. Now. The back stairs. The voice in the smoke left, but the smell, of course, lingered like a tacked-up notice. Melina rubbed the bottom of her right foot over the top of her left foot. It erased the tickling itch. Sliding the skin of her feet together, she rubbed Peter into her skin like lotion. The heels of her hands scooped at her tired, swollen eyes, and she closed the door. Didn't bother with the lock. She looked back at the bed and the man on it. Melina, he said, eyes clinging and clutching. He was fully directed at her. Like usual, two forces competed inside her, equal and opposing, pulling her into his arms and pushing her to run far and fast. The result was that her body stood in perfect static silence. Years of her profession gave her the skill to stop her mouth from speaking, her soul from feeling, and instead she used that compulsion to simply make her body move. And it did.
Ooh, very good. So, Alyssa Herron, where can people get this book?
Well, I would first direct people locally to Pittsburgh. It's at several independent bookstores, which I love and am so proud of. Way up in McCandless, we are at Riverstone Books. Going down further, we are in Oakmont at Mystery Lovers Bookshop. On the North Shore, I am at City Books. And in Lawrenceville, I am at 9 Stories. And towards the south, I am at Rickert and Beagle. And if you are way, way down south where I am, I also have a copy at a branch of the Carnegie Library,
Ooh,
which
really?
tickles me.
Oh, that's
yes.
so cool.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
You know what's even cooler about that is because they're connected to every other library in Allegheny County,
Yeah.
so you can get it from any library.
It was,
really.
I think, like the Pennsylvania Interlibrary loan,
Yeah.
but it was like that was my big thing.
That's so cool.
The library that I grew up going to, and the first
That's
library
awesome.
card I ever had from that was one of my first stops. I was like, "Will you please stock my book?"
That's so cool.
And on Amazon, like everything else on the planet, it lives there too.
That's amazing. And you know what's really cool about that? Being connected to that Carnegie Library system and having your book in there. I was there the other day, and we went to the museum because I'm a member of the Carnegie Museum.
so am I.
Are you? So we're
Fancy.
members, yes.
Yes.
To the members.
Yes.
Ooh. So I was a member, and they were closing down. And members, we don't like to wait for parking and people leaving the garage. So we went to the library next door, and we went upstairs. We were just kind of meandering in their last half an hour because one of the people we were touring with, a non-member, a plebe,
Right.
they were
Yes.
with us, up, and they had never been to the Carnegie Library in Oakland. So we went up to the top floor, and they have the microfilm, and they actually have the first edition of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette
Oh, wow.
in microfilm.
No way.
That dates
That's
back to
great.
the 1700s.
Oh, wow.
Dates before the United States of America.
I would love to go see that.
That's
Yeah, I'm going
incredible.
to go back and go see it. Unfortunately, it was so late that they were
Yeah.
closing. We didn't want to
fantastic.
Oh, that's
pull that
neat,
out.
yeah.
So you were in the same collection as
Right.
the first edition of the Pittsburgh
Essentially.
Post-Gazette.
Right.
Yeah, because they're all connected. So
Right.
really, that's kind of a cool
That is
thing.
And the other
to-
good thing
to be
about
part
having
of.
your book at a Carnegie Library is every single time my mother goes, she can give me an updated report over whether my book is there or if it's out.
That's
like
cool.
she gets very excited. Your book wasn't there. Someone must have it out.
Oh, that's awesome.
Very
That's got to be
awesome.
really cool for you to know that, right?
Yeah, I was like, that's.
Oh, can you look back at data not to see who took it out, to see how many times it's been taken out and all that kind of stuff?
I mean, I don't know. I have not
Oh,
yet.
God. I would be refreshing that on my phone
I
all
see.
the time.
I do that not for them, but with Kindle, you can look every day and do reports and see how many pages someone's read on Kindle Unlimited,
Whoa.
how many copies
Oh, that's
someone
cool.
has, and it's
Oh, that's such a little dopamine hit. That's so good.
yeah. Until you don't, and then you can see big white blank days. And no one's like,
Torture.
How exhausting is it to try to promote the book?
It's a lot because when you are living with, I have a draft of this book that was 2012. So when you have lived with that story for that long, you've told it to yourself again and again, and you've edited it more times than you can imagine. And then after a while, you just say, I'm tired. I want to do something else. Because people have asked me to do readings, and I'm like, I'm actually a poet and a spoken word artist. Can I do that stuff instead? I don't want to with anymore. But that's part of the gig. Like any other independent artist, you have to be hustling. You have to constantly be talking about it because no one else is going to do it. You have to be the one that is, putting out the social media hits and trying to, get people to know about it, because then Pittsburgh Moral Compass, like Brian Crawford, doesn't know about your book launch. And, I mean, what a crisis that is.
That's what I'm saying,
See?
I wonder if the message was intercepted somehow. I'm not sure.
It could have
possible.
been. It's very possible.
So you said you want to move on to something new.
Yes.
What do you want to move on to?
I am doing more with my spoken word. I know you had mentioned about Black Forge. I just did a show there at Black Forge Coffee Shop.
Okay.
Just a couple days ago.
It's a good shop up there.
Yeah, so I'm actually working on collecting my poetry to possibly put that into a next book. I love noir. That's one of my favorite genres, so that's the next book that I'm working on. And I still act when possible, so I'm trying to
What do you
continue.
act in? What have you done?
I just did one of the first night shows. They have theater and music going on throughout the city on first night. And
That's
I was
right,
in 12 Piers had a show.
Great. 12 Piers is great. We used to do a lot of stuff with them, actually, here with the River's Edge.
Yes, exactly.
So I'd like to do it again. We just got to get all of the stuff lined up.
So,
and
so
everything.
I just did that. Now, you guys are broadcasting from Hambones next Sunday?
Yeah, not this coming Sunday, but the next Sunday, I believe.
Yeah, because I
the
was there
acoustic
this
brunch.
morning, and they were
raising,
promoting.
Were they? Great. Let me see if I can find out.
So, yay.
It's the Center for Media Justice, I believe, is we're going to be donating to them with this acoustic brunch. And basically what that money is going to go towards is their lawsuit to fight against the changes to the net neutrality regulations. So as obviously somebody who's in online media, it's very important to me that we have the ability to get the same access as like the big evil corporations that Michael loves so much, like iHeartMedia and places like that. So this allows us to stay competitive. The old laws allow us to stay competitive, the old rules, and getting rid of those rules definitely is a hardship for organizations like ours.
Brian, I have a question. So let's say that the rules were to change and you were very limited in your bandwidth based on the fact that you just couldn't afford bandwidth, right? And you had the opportunity to get free bandwidth, but they weren't giving it to you, right? You used to have this bandwidth, and now it's been taken away from you. Are you ethically opposed to that?
I think there's a big difference between sustaining your business and getting a Christmas tree for aesthetics in your house.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like the person who steals food versus the person who steals a massage table. Apples to oranges.
What if you return the Christmas tree and then you use the money for food?
Maybe you should have just bought food in the first place and not gotten the Christmas tree.
What if there's like a lot of cultural pressure around? and
I think you were literally reaching for a million excuses.
I had a good sense that your question was going to be condescending. I felt that.
So, no, this sounds fantastic, though. I really enjoyed it sounds like a great story.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to it. I was hoping to read it all today, or actually all Saturday.
Yeah.
And I had this like horrible cold that I've been fighting. Everyone seems to be getting
It's a
that.
plague.
Yeah. So this is fantastic. I'm really excited. This is great. I'm glad for you. Has it had a lot of like traction? Have you been getting a lot of?
It's been steady. A couple, buys every couple days, which is great. It's one of those. A girl that I went to high school with, who has been my friend forever, is also a novelist.
Oh,
and
really?
the fact that we both have novels out is pretty incredible. So.
No, where do you do your poetry readings?
The open mics that are around
Okay.
the city.
Okay, great. So mostly like music open mics? Or?
Yeah, I mean, like Hambones has one. Obviously, Mr. Smalls here does theirs. Different events.
That's one of the nice things about the music open mic scene is they seem to be like so accepting to multiple styles of art.
Oh,
that
absolutely.
They welcome in.
Yeah.
Which I always think is an asset to that scene.
Absolutely. You do. You get storytelling and impersonations and
Now, do you do anything-
card tricks.
Yes. Yes, I've seen some crazy stuff.
Right.
Andrew the Impaler, I've seen him on
Yes.
stage doing some stuff, which is great. Now, are you involved at all with like the poetry collective? And this is more me,
Right. No,
me
I'm not.
reaching out and trying to fish for information. You're not involved with that. Any kind of story type slams or anything like that?
No, I mean, I've done, Bricolage does sort of storytelling similar to The Moth called Wordplay.
Okay, and you've been involved in
I've
that?
been a storyteller for them
Do
before.
you think someone like that would be interested in some sort of? And I'm definitely just like fishing for information. Do you think they would be interested in any kind of like an outreach or anything like that to try to get more people aware of what they're doing?
Absolutely. I mean, companies like Bricolage, I don't think they're doing it anymore, but they used to do their bus project, which is they put directors, actors, screenwriters on a city bus, and it drives through the city. And then they have a set period of time to create a stage show based
that's
on
cool.
that, written from scratch. And I think that's a big issue here. I know that's something that Josh and Ian and their other partner Mike are really looking into, is a way to get all these artists out there so that people know what others are working on, so they know what music is available, so they know what, comedy is happening and what podcasts are happening and what poetry and performance art, when you're not the corporate sponsored acts that can't get covered in the Post-Gazette or City Paper. Because something like this is an independent book. Post-Gazette will not even review independently published novels.
As a rule.
Yes.
Interesting.
And that is their prerogative, certainly. And then City Paper will just do it if they choose to or
If they
not.
like you or not.
Yeah. But I think, a lot of the big paper, because it's just every day, I think Amazon gets 10,000 new titles out. So there's just this deluge of content and data, and you can't feature everybody,
Yeah.
So, but I think I think every theater company, every, art collective here in town is looking for, areas and venues to get their stuff out there.
Yeah. Well, we are very happy here at the River's Edge that we can help promote local writings and independent authors right here
Absolutely.
on River Talk. So thank you so much, Alyssa. It's Alyssa Herron. It's Drowning Above Water.
Thank
You can
you.
check that out on Amazon and all of the local bookstores here in town. You can even borrow it at the Carnegie Library
Right?
of Pittsburgh.
Isn't that
So
lovely?
lots of great opportunities. So hopefully the water will subside. Hopefully, the point I know was flooding too. Hopefully that water will come down, and hopefully we can get the barge situation under control. Thank you so much to Alyssa. Thank you so much to Sam Leonard as well.
Such a pleasure to be here.
Yes.
Thank you.
When
Absolutely,
can people
thank you.
find your show? When does it air?
Thursday mornings, you'll find it. Subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you find your podcasts, or samleonardlocal.com if you want to. If it's your first podcast, it streams right there.
Awesome. Michael, what do you have coming up?
For this week, only the brunch, buddy.
Only the brunch, all right.
I will
And
be
that
at the
is-
Net Neutrality Bunch
that is coming up.
doing some comedy.
Yeah, so that's going to be a good time. It's going to be at Hambones. It's 10:30, and pulling up the date here, it should be the 20... okay, so it is the 21st, so it is actually this coming
Yeah.
Sunday.
Next Sunday,
Yeah, this coming
Can
Sunday.
I plug something for the week after that? Because it's big.
Go for it.
I've hosted shows, I've been on shows, but I've never produced a show before. The 27th at 8 p.m. at the Roboto Project, I will be producing my first show. That means I rented the venue, hired the
Wow,
fucking comics,
awesome.
and have Jesse Irvin from Race to the Coffin and The Hard Times on there. Gonna have Gab Benesso, voted #1 comic in the City Paper, a new album out on Misra Records. I'll be hosting. We got Sam Zevan, a comic who just moved here from Atlanta, but was originally from Afghanistan. It's
Wow.
going to be a good time. It's $5, and it's at the Roboto Project. It is a punk-themed comedy show,
Fantastic.
whatever that
Nice.
means. It means there's skulls and Molotov cocktails on the poster.
You gotta get
Nice.
you gotta get cheap like me, man, and pay nothing.
Well, $25 is almost nothing.
That is pretty good. So good deal at the Roboto Project. Yeah, this coming Sunday. So we've got one more time with that date.
It's gonna be Saturday, January 27th at the Roboto Project.
Very cool.
$5. Gab Benesso, Jesse Irvin, Sam Zavan.
Excellent. The 21st, we
Mike
are going
fucking
to be
Cohen.
at the yes. Check that out. And this coming Sunday, a week from today, at the Acoustic Brunch that starts at 10:30 in the morning, we will be raising money for the media justice. We're going to be fighting net neutrality. We're going to have a lot of great musicians and a bunch of other. We've got some comedians and some other people stopping down for that. So do not miss it. I'll be there, and then we will be back here that night. Actually, I'll be there Saturday morning. We've got Saturday River Talk on the 20th. And that's going to be a good show. We've got the Cheerly Men coming in. And then on the 21st that evening, we have Sadie Friend who's going to be in here as well. So lots of good stuff to look forward to.
The Cheerly Men are fantastic.
Right here.
I saw them at the Millville Music Festival last year. They were so good.
They are great. Yeah, they played at Bar 3 last year. Hopefully they will apply again this year. We have over 300 submissions, but do not wait because the submissions end at the end of the month. So do not catch yourself missing your opportunity to play in the Millville Music Festival in our second year. For Sam Leonard, for Alyssa Herron, for Michael Cohen, I am Brian Crawford. This has been River Talk here on the River's Edge Radio Network. Your outro music has been Scumbag Inc. by Solar Burn, and we have more local music right after this here on Pittsburgh's Voice for Local Music, the River's Edge. Peace out.